Good afternoon. Today I'm going to show you how to modify or customize a CabWriter drawn cabinet. What I want is a cabinet that looks like this. There's nothing strange about this cabinet up until this point right here. This cabinet doesn't exist in the CabWriter library, but we can easily modify a cabinet that does exist to this style of cabinet. Here's what we're going to start out with: a diagonal corner cab, a draw bank, and a standard base. And what we're going to do is modify this standard base to be a corner end cab. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to start out by using the strategy number 1 shown in the described in the post, and draw the outline on top that we want in this cabinet, and then we'll follow the rest of the strategies for modifying it. So let's get started. I know I want a 13-inch end panel here, so I'm going to mark that along the top, 13 inches. And I know I want it to start right at this point. And then go to this point. So that's the angle I want. That's the bevel. I'm going to create this outline here. And I'm also going to create this outline, and this outline with construction lines. So now if the last thing I suppose I should do is to show the depth of the cabinet. All right, now if I clear all layers, I get a feel for the cabinet that I want. I know that the trim is 13/16 thick, so I'm going to start by making this 13/16 and this 13/16. And then I know there's a side inside of that, and that has to be 3/4. And I'm going to have a stretcher in there that's 3 inches. Okay, so what I've done here is I've sort of mapped out my face frame. So let me bring the face frames in. And the end panels. First thing I want to do is take this end panel and resize it to this 13-inch size. The easiest way to do that is to move this style down. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring everything back in here for the moment. I'm going to select this cabinet, the entire cabinet, and I am going to unlock it so that I can modify things. Now I'm going to clear all layers and bring back my face frames and end panels. And now I can modify things easily. So for instance, I can take this and move it right here, because that's going to give me the width of the end panel. Now I can edit this part, put it in edit component mode, and what I want to do is just move the tongue and the end face. So what I'll do is I'll use the select tool in a left to right manner to capture all of that. Notice my bounding box here. Notice it got all this face, all this tongue, but nothing else. Now I can move that. I'll pick it up at this point right here. Move that to this point right here. And I've now resized that part. I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. And again, I'm going to select all of the parts. By the way, notice it selects behind here. It selects all the face back there. And so again, I'm going to move this. This time I'm going to move it to that point. Well, I'll pick up the bottom edge. Move it to that point. Now I've got to not move actually. I'm going to edit the panel. And I'm going to use the push-pull tool. And I'm going to use this to define where I want the push-pull tool. And there you go. It looks, my joint is going to want to start here and go here. That wants to be my joint. That's this 13/16 piece that's going to come, this diagonal piece that's going to come across here, and it's going to join with this 13/16 piece. So what I have to do is edit this component again. This time I'm only going to select this edge, just this edge right here. And I'm going to use the move tool at the very peak. At the end point, to move that end point there. And notice it moved the whole face. Okay. Now that completes the end panel edits. Next thing I want to do is modify this piece and this piece. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm select this and edit it. I'm going to move this bottom of this to that point there. Then I'll edit this one. Move that up here. Let's zoom in. This point right here is an interesting point. That gives me the face frame outline that I'll need for this door here. So I think what I want to do is use that point, and I may have to mark it. So I'll mark it with my, there we go. Now I've got it marked with a guide point. I'll edit this point. Select just this edge. Move it back to that guide point. Okay. Now I want to use this point, this what I need to do is I'll need a face frame for this door. So I'm going to use this part. I'll put it here. And I'll rotate it. Using the Shift key, I'll hold the blue icon. Come over here, out there, and rotate it back to there. But now I need to edit it. Again, select that edge. Move that edge to that point. And there we go. Let me just rotate around here again. All right, now notice on this door over here, if I select this component, notice it's a left corner inside style. This is a right corner inside style. In other words, those are different components. Very, very similar, but different. Well, what I want to do is I'm going to copy this component over here. Let me do that first. Using the Move Copy tool. I'll bring this over to here. Now I'm going to flip it. Along red. And let me look at this from the top. Notice I'm using the protractor tool. Let me do it this way. There we go. Notice that that is 90 degrees. I want to make sure this is 90 degrees. And indeed it is. And so what I want now is I'm going to have to edit that back point. Let me just check this again. Yeah, I'm going to have to edit that back point to come over here. So in order to do that, I have to have a different component here. So what I'll do is use the rename component. Notice right now it's called left end panel style. This, by the way, is called a connector style. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call it a right end connector style. And since I've only got one in the model, I'm going to use the same name for the instance name. And my rationale for this, by the way, is everything between end styles, this end style and this end style, are connector styles. That's a connector style. That's a connector style. That's a connector style. The only place where things are different is right here when these are inside styles for the diagonal corner cabinet, and that's because they have the diagonal cabinet has 4 styles. So these are inside styles, but that's a connector style. This is a connector style. This is a connector style. Okay, so now we've renamed that. Now I can go and edit it. So I'll go around back. Okay. Now I've got one more thing to do, which is to place a top rail here. Notice, by the way, that this is a face frame part, left end panel. This is a face frame part, right end panel. This is a top rail. So what am I going to name this? Well, I'm certainly going to name it a top rail, but I don't want to give it the same name as this. So what I'll do, I'll give it a diagonal name, since this is a diagonal box. I'm going to bring this down 1 1/2 inch. I'm going to make it a component. I don't care what the component name is. First thing I want to do is fix the axes, or the bounding box. That bounding box will not do us very well as far as the cut list is concerned. So I'll change the axes. I'll make it look like that. Okay, now I can use my rename tool, and this is cabinet C1L. So I'll use the same thing here, and it's certainly a top rail, but I'm going to name it diagonal top RAIL. It's part of the face frame. I'm going to name the instance name the same as the component name. Well, not quite. The descriptions are the same, but the component name is prefixed with C1LFF. And I'm going to protect it. I get a warning that it doesn't have attributes. So I'm going to fix that right away. I'm going to look at the extended entity info. And since I'm not sure what to put in here, I'll look at this top rail. And it's rough lumber maple, cabinet resize at 1/32 of an inch. So I'll choose that. Rough lumber, maple, resize, resize the thickness, 1/32 of an inch. And there we go. So we've got that done. Let's bring in, so it looks like my face frame is done. What happened over here? Oh, nothing. Okay. Uh, let's bring the base doors in. I've got a door here. Not doing me much good sticking out like that. So I'm going to choose all of its parts. And I'll move it. I'll start out by moving it this way. Now I'm going to move it down 3/32 for the gap. And I'm going to move it in that direction 3/32. And let's see if I can rotate it. Using the shift key, I'll hold the blue. And just choose something like that. Now I got my door in there. It's a little short, but I've got it in there. And resizing this is no problem. We do it the same way we did this. First thing I'll do is I'll bring this down along the blue 3/32. And I'll bring this out 3/32. And my mouse is, there we go. And I'll hold it on this edge up here just to make sure I'm going in the right direction. 3/32. And so I should have an intersection right there. I do. Now I'll just choose this part. Click it up. Move it there. Now I'm going to edit this. And now what I might do is just have the doors in here. Base doors. Now I can see things better. So I'll edit this part. Left to right on the select tool. Pick this up here. Move it to here. I'll do the same with the bottom part. Edit component. Move this to here. Oop. And now I have to bring the panel to where it needs to be. And again, like before, I'll just choose that point right there. I'm not sure why I've got there we go. All right, so that looks right. Now I can bring the face frame and the end panel back in. Take a good look at this, make sure I've got all that done. And I do. Getting a lot of construction lines here. I might want to clean some of these up. Like, I don't need this one. And I don't need this one. don't need this front one anymore because I have this. I don't need this front one anymore. All right. Let's bring the box in, the base box, see what we have to do to that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to repurpose this in order to do that and do it cleanly. I think I'll bring it out here. So I'll pick that up. I'll move it out, let's say 30 inches. Something I can remember. And I'll edit. I'm going to bring this tongue out because I'm not going to want that. And get rid of that and that. I'm going to want these two holes right here, and I want this hole here, and I want the one in back here, and I want these two. But because I'm going to make this very short, 13 inch, well, a little less than 13 inches, I probably don't want those holes. So what I'm going to do, come around here where I can make sure I get everything that has to do with those holes and delete them. Now, because this is a diagonal cabinet, I also don't need these hinge holes. Might as well get rid of those right at the moment. And now I think we're ready to modify this. Just going to move it back along the green, 30 inches. That should put it right back where it was. And one last time, let's edit it. And this time, I want to get all of the shelf holes inside, and I also want to get these holes. So I'll just do this. I'll select from here to here. Move it back to that point right there. And now I've got to move this point, this edge up. To this intersection right here. There we go. Now I've modified that. I still have all my shelf holes where I want them. but I have a nice new side. And I haven't changed the name or anything else. I've only modified it. So that should work fine. Okay, let's modify this. Let's edit it. Oh, first of all, I can't edit it because if I do, it's the same part as that. Notice there's two of these in the model. It's called stretcher, stretcher. It's the same part as this one. Two of them in the model, stretcher, stretcher. So I have to rename this one. No problem. I'm going to call that diagonal, front diagonal stretcher. And since there's only one of them in this box, I'll use that for the instance name as well. And I'll protect it. Now, I can modify this. If I look closely here, I've got to move this back. I'll pick it up at this corner, move it to there. Go into Edit Component mode. Select this front end. Pick this corner up. Move it there. Then I want to go around back. Select this face and its perimeter. Move that back to here. Lastly, I want to correct its bounding box. So I'll right click, change axis, and there we go. All right. Let's get rid of the face frame and end panel and door. We got something we have to fix up down here. This bottom of the cabinet wants to go from here. Whoops, one other thing we have to fix up first. This little corner of this side has to be removed. So we'll go to Edit Component mode. Let's zoom in here close and let's go to that point. And there we go. We fixed that up. Now we can come back here. Go. Whoops. Let's put this in Edit Component mode. There. Now we can go from this point to this point, and with the push-pull tool, cut that off. And we have the bottom of the box modified. Now we want to modify the shelf. When shelves are drawn in CabWriter, they're drawn such that the back edge touches the back. And the reason for that is it needs to be able to find what shelves belong to a back, so it can automatically figure out which direction the grain should go in. So it has to touch the back. If it weren't for that, what we'd want is a 1/16 of an inch spacing all the way around. Front, back, side, side. Well, the sides are spaced. They actually have a gap. There, you can see it there, that gap. And it's on both sides. You can see it there. There's no gap at the back, so we need a 1/8 inch gap, or 2 times 1/16 up front. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, one thing we can do is measure the top of this bottom up along the blue axis, lock it to the blue axis, all right, that's 9 3/4 of an inch. So what we'll do, whoops, we had it, and why did I let go? There we go. So now what I've done is I've transferred this line up here. I want to move it back 1/8 of an inch. So I'll just do this. Make sure I'm on the surface. Move it 1/8 of an inch. All right. That should give us what we need to edit this. Go from that intersection to that intersection. And since these are both the same component, we've got them both edited. All right, let's bring the doors back in. We don't have any draws, but we can bring, well, we do in the other cabinets here. And we can bring the draw fronts in, bring in the end panels, bring in the face frames. Everything seems to be done there. The only thing we've got left is the toe kick, or the ladder base. So let's bring the toe kick in. Notice on the front that the toe kick goes in 3 inches from this bottom edge. So it needs to do the same thing here. So first thing I'll do is create a 0 inset line. And now I'll get rid of everything but the ladder base. And I'll also get rid of a lot of other construction lines like these, 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 these. I don't need that one, and I don't need that one. All right. So this represents the edge of the face frame. So let me bring that back 3 inches. Whoops. There we go. There we go. We should have an intersection there. We do. All right, that's going to define the front of the applied face. This, by the way, notice, is an applied face. It's the front applied face. we're going to have to put some diagonal applied faces in here. And they're going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. The same as this. 3/4. So I'll go back again. 3/4. And that tells me two things. One, that this face right here has to be modified. The way I'm going to do that is draw a line from this intersection to this intersection. Let's see, did I do that right? Yep. And I'll cut it off like that. Yeah, that's right. And now I've got to modify this one. And this one, I need to draw a line from this intersection to that intersection. I need to create a diagonal. Bring that all the way down to the bottom. Make it a component. I don't care what the name is. I'll fix its bounding box. And now I can change its name. Notice that this has a front applied face. It's part of the toe kick. Oh, and also it's C1L. So this one will be C1L. I'm going to name it diagonal applied face, and it's going to be part of the toe kick. And I'll name the instance name the same. Only one in the model. I'll protect it. And it tells me to look at the extended entity info and fill in the attributes. So I'll look at this one. And that's rough lumber maple, and it's resized 3/4 and 1. So I'll do the same thing here. Rough lumber, maple, resized 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch. And it's protected. So that one's done. Now, notice if I look at this, it says 5 in model. Also, if I look at this one, it says 5 in model. So I can't go and modify these because I'll modify the other four, which is this, these, and this over here. In fact, notice I've already done that here. Made a mistake here already by not noticing that this was one of two. So what I'm going to do is go back to this one, and I'm going to rename it. I'll call it diagonal end applied face. Diagonal end applied face, and it needs to be protected. And now I can go back and fix this one up, bring it back to where it should have been all along. Yeah, I gotta also fix that back up because I changed that. Can I do that? Got lucky. There we go. Fix that up. And this one over here is still short. All right. So I have to do the same thing here. But before I do, let me fix this. What I want to do with that is bring it back to here. So I'll edit it. Go from here to here. Okay, that works. Now, this one I'll rename. I think I'll call it short rib. Call that left end short rib. I'll protect it. And this one I'll call short stretcher. Left end short stretcher. I'll protect it. If my, there we go. And I probably have to go around back to do this one. So notice that the rename tool does a couple of things. One is it makes these unique, and it also saves all of the attributes. If I were to bring up the extended entity info, notice the attributes are there. So it saved the attributes. It saved other things too that are stored in there. The DNA of the component, which has all of the cabinet information in it, plus all of the defaults used to make the cabinet. Okay. Let's see. Is that everything? I believe it is. I believe that's everything. We probably should have put a tie in here. And I think I'll do that. There should be a diagonal tie here. So I'm going to come out this way, 3/4, and create a tie. Make it a component. Fix its bounding box one last time. And rename it. I'll call it diagonal tie. C1L. Toe kick. Diagonal tie. Protect it. Bring up the extended entity info. Look at what ties have. Ties are nothing but sheet good, shop plywood. That's the only attribute in them. So I'll do the same thing here. Sheet good, shop plywood. And now I have to fix these two. And I have to fix this one. Let me delete guides. And let's bring everything in here and look at this. There you go. You have your cabinet all completed. So don't be afraid to modify cabinets that CabWriter draws. They're not that hard. They may take a little time, but the idea is you can modify a cabinet almost anything you want. You're not limited in any way because you have both the power of SketchUp and the power of CabWriter to help you. All right, have a good day.